All right. Thank you, everyone, for turning out tonight. I really appreciate your being here, and I prepared what I think is a really interesting talk. No matter what your interests are, more in the health side or on metaphysics, this is sort of a bridge class into explaining what some people could use as a process who are interested in what awakening or in what the marketplace is often called enlightenment. So this is sort of a path to that path. So again, thank you for coming. What I would like to do first is to introduce you to a Tibetan singing bowl. And these are very interesting. We're going to talk about these in the class. And what makes them interesting besides the craftsmanship are some of the attributes of these bowls. And it's not uncommon for somebody who sets out on a path of awakening to come across sound tools. And this is a sound tool from the Tibetan tradition. Part of what makes it unique is there's often iconography related to mandalas or other meditational focusing aids. And also the metal composition of these bowls is very complex. There are ancient formulas about planetary correspondences to the different metals, tin, aluminum, gold, all sorts of things are formulated in here. And they also make very interesting sounds. So I just want to play this, if it's okay, for just a couple seconds. These bowls, some would say, are very alive. They tend to do different things depending on the conditions. Sometimes they go really high like that. And sometimes when you're working with somebody and you pass it over a different part of their body, it will make a totally different sound. The vibration has just totally changed and has come really into a circuit or a communion with that person. So I like to open with that because part of what it does is the sound helps to awaken us, and it also helps to clear out the energy field, keep energy moving. And that's really what a large part of this path of awakening that I'm all about consists of. So are we good with the heat? The temperature is a little bit warm, but I think it's coming down okay. All right, and if it's not in a few minutes, just speak up and we'll address it again. All right, so everybody got 2 handouts. And if you didn't, ask and you shall receive. One is called Purifying the Body and Soul for Awakening. And for most people, this is printed on a 2-sided sheet of paper. This is the outline for tonight's class. So in the next few minutes, this is what we're going to cover. You also have another sheet of paper that's called Awakening or Awaken Your Mystical Self. That is kind of an advanced curriculum. That is a segue that you would consider this orientation to continue to. If what I have spoken to you is interesting and resonates with you, then that coursework material, which is going to be 5 consecutive Sundays in October at our house in Cary, would be sort of a follow-on to this. And all those class sessions will be videotaped, so if you can't make 5 Sundays in a row, you have to miss 1 or 2, the material will be posted for you on a private link on YouTube to do the catch-up for any of those classes. So that's that material. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start today's content. And so Purifying the Body and Soul for Awakening. I've been thinking about this class for many years and decided this year to go ahead and do it. And what this is about is awakening. So what is awakening? And most of you probably are familiar with the spiral as a symbol or a sacred symbol. For some reason, it's a sacred symbol. And what to me is interesting about the spiral is that experientially, it's not a complete spiral. There's usually this significant event or series of events that occurs in people's lives that help them to realize that what they've been trying to orient to outwardly, the answer or the target they were seeking was really the inner self. So they orient to a lot of things outwardly. They circumambulate through life and try a lot of things. And then finally, this is called the great turn. So in the great turn, we begin to orient to ourselves, and then the spiral becomes tighter and tighter and tighter because we look to ourselves and what we can receive inwardly through our intuition and inner voice, inner speaking, as informing us in our lives as much or more than what we hear from people outwardly. So I would consider this process of going through the great turn the major awakening process. For many people, it happens at different times. By middle age usually is when it happens for most people. They begin to question their original values and such. So once there is a recognition of a desire for an awakening or a change in lifestyle or what you've been doing, there's often this associated response regarding purification. And purification is very interesting. It's very interesting from the sound aspect and the experiential aspect. There are two interpretations of purification. One is the one that fits very well in with things that you can actually get at Whole Foods and help support your health, right? We know about additives, everything that's in the environment, and for things like that, there are things like sea salt, detox teas, and all of the such. And as soon as we start talking about those kind of adjuncts or additives, I have a little disclaimer to make sure that you read it on the top of the paper. It says, disclaimer, nothing in this outline or my talk is construed to be medical advice, a prescription, or something that someone else should try without first seeking the advice of your medical doctor or other qualified health professional. So when I talk about things up here, these are things that I have tried and other people have tried, and you may find it interesting. So what I want to say is in terms of energetic purification, that there's something about sea salt that I don't know if anybody fully understands. It may be that the composition of our blood has the same salinity or similar salinity to the sea salt, to the composition of the oceans. But there's something about getting in a sea salt bath that really has a way to pull energy that's been stagnant, that wants to move. And part of my studies have been related to the shamans in the Andes, the Peruvian shamans, the Pacos, and they have an interesting worldview. They actually don't view any energy as being bad. They only view energy as being stuck. So all of their ceremonies is just to get your energy moving again. And once your energy moves again, the body has a way to help reestablish a natural, healthy pattern. Another tradition that I've studied with is the Sufi tradition. And this is actually an excellent book called Awakening by a man named Vilayat Khan, V-I-L-A-Y-A-T, Khan. And in Sufism, the view there is that the body has a natural tone, that your body has a vibration, that it's not natural vibration. And what we're trying to do is help reassert or bring that vibration to the fore. So now we begin to transition between these two views of what purification is. At an introductory level, there'll be a response at this great turn to change your lifestyle, change your friends perhaps, and to maybe do a detox, right? Yogi teas. I remember years ago, this was like my mainstay every day for probably 3 or 4 years. And then you get into different aspects of whole body cleansing and all this, and these are all helpful to start energy moving again, because that's what health is to keep energy moving. So those are some ways to keep it moving. Now, there are other things. I have so many little toys up here. There are other things to deal with electrical smog. And this is only being realized now. You know, it's only in the last few months that studies more conclusively stated that there's caution to be held with cellular phone emissions. This has been a years-long thing. Okay, is it, isn't it, is it, isn't it? And the latest studies are indicating yes, there's some reason to be cautious about it. And what these scalar pendants are supposed to do is they possess, or their geometries hold, what's called a scalar wave. And a scalar wave is a standing wave. And this gets us a little bit into sacred geometry, but what a standing wave of the right proportion is supposed to do is to help you reassert what your natural tone or your natural human vibration is. So scalar pendants, different kinds of crystals, are often something that you'll see somebody who's working on their vibratory field or helping them to purify or reassert their natural tone. So the other sort of deeper view of purification is that once you get going on the body, and we'll talk about body maps here in a second, but once you get the physicality of your body moving towards getting energy flowing again, then there's another way that you can look at purification, and that is more along this reasserting the natural tone. And the way I like to describe this is, so don't laugh at my person. Here's some kind of humanoid. And let's say they have some things in them that aren't according to their natural tone. And we might call these stains or spots or stuck energy places. So one of the things we could do is try to go in there like, you know, a laser and say, go away, be gone. But really what we could do is we could work with sound, or we could work with prayer or meditation, and we could take whatever our natural tone is and have that strengthen and begin to broadcast those rays of our own vibratory field. And those things would go up and really solve the problem from within, not just solving the problem from without. And this is often, you can see certain folks dealing with problems for a very long time, things that are chronic, and it could just be the approach that they're using, who knows. But I think in this case, if we take an inner view, again, we've made the great turn to seek an inner perspective to life and to our answers. We can also take an inner perspective to healing. I'm not necessarily looking to take something away from my life. I'm looking to manifest who it is I am and that natural vibration that I carry. Okay, so this takes us into maps of the human body. There are different maps of the human existence. One is the 3-level map, and depending how you draw this map, you could put the spirit on the outside or the spirit on the inside, and the body on the outside or the body on the inside. So it turns out when we're talking about purification, there are different things, different techniques that we can aim at or utilize to work on each of these areas. There's also a 5-level map, which would include physical, mental, emotional, moral, and this is very interesting, moral. 6-7 years ago, I'd never heard of that as being a body. And then the spiritual body. So these are 5 bodies here. And what's very interesting about these 5 bodies is that there is a correspondence to 5 elements according to the Hindu tradition, where you have earth, air, fire, water, and ether. And it turns out that the moral body has to do with our relationships. So we can look at each of these domains as an opportunity to heal or move energy. How can I move energy in my body? For myself, I like to try and run a couple miles most days. That's how I get my physical energy moving. And then mental energy, I do a lot of that at work. Most of us now engage with computers or other things. We're doing a lot of mental work, so we don't need overstimulation there. We're already getting plenty of that. Emotional, you know, how do you relax? How